everyone, and welcome back to Alma Live. I'm Adriana Monique Alvarez. I'm so excited to be with you, and I'm very excited to announce, it's nighttime for me, but I know it's not nighttime for you, Rosie. Rosie Chehade, thank you for joining us. Would you tell everyone where you're joining us from?
Hi, Adriana. So honoured to be here with you. So I'm in Queensland, Australia. It's actually 11 a.m. my time. Yeah.
I love that through the power of technology, we can do this. We're all the way on the other side of the world and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So I know you're a transformational leadership and wellness coach, well-being coach, but I would love for you to share what that means. Tell us who you are and what you're up to in the world.
Okay, so in the fullest definition of what leadership really means, it's really about helping, well, I help women predominantly, but I do work with men as well, reclaim their wholeness so that they can really step into their impact and rise in success. And for us to really be successful and be the highest vibration and the highest leader or lighthouses that we are, it takes us to really show up and be our true selves. And so this is predominantly the work that I do. I help many unlock their true selves, really step into being who they really are so that they can be that shining beacon for those around them. And this is the core essence of what leadership truly means. It's not where I think society has it be like the masculine kind of ways of being. This is a very new way of living and leading in our lives. So a lot of my clients have businesses, they're business owners, or they're in some kind of leadership role in their careers. So the magic is unlocking ourselves and who we really are. So, yeah.
Beautiful and so true. I want to also welcome those who are watching. Please feel free to tell us in the comments where you're joining from tonight, today, this morning. I'm over in Mexico, so and I love your background. It feels like we're actually in the same place because it's very lush here as well, down in the Yucatan. So, we have Phoenix coming out on March 22nd. You have contributed a chapter, you have shared your story, and of course, in this talk, we're going to be talking about emotional resilience. So, is there anything you want to share as a preview in what you shared in your chapter to kind of get us going?
Sure. Okay. So, well, Phoenix, the definition, I love our title because it is literally representing everything that is happening around us right now. And in Greek lore, in mythology, the Phoenix is really willing to light itself on fire, walk through the darkness so that it can become the shining essence, the shining light that it needs to be, really. So essentially, my journey was me being willing to walk through the fire in order for me to become that Phoenix. And I share a lot of, it really does boil back to emotional resilience and what that is, but I share a lot of my walk through my dark night of the soul, and where we only ever get one of those if we're lucky in this lifetime, Adriana. So we have many dark nights of the ego, but only one dark night of the soul. And so essentially Phoenix is the walk through the fire, the willingness to allow everything, all of that old junk, all of that old ways of being to be burnt up so that we can rise higher and rise above all of that and claim who we really are in this world. So yeah, really, it's going to be so powerful, I really felt the energy and the cover of that book. So I'm so excited for it to be released.
And talk about perfect timing, right? Because when we started this project and named it and selected the cover, we had no idea what would be going on in the world right now.
Yeah, at all. This has been months in the making, and the release couldn't have come at a more better time. Really cool.
So let's dip into this emotional resilience. What's your definition? How do you see that? What are those characteristics?
Okay, so radical openness. So I when we deeply and intimately meet that which we've avoided. This is where we open the space for healing and transformation to unfold. And so emotional resilience is really being courageous enough to look under the hood at the deeper things, right, that are coming up. And it takes courage to look at some of those programmings, those operating systems that are outdated or weren't true in the beginning. And this is where all of the darkness, everything that we've been through actually gives us the ability to be the eye in the storm, right? It's like our currency to thrive in any given situation where there is a peace and a resting and an okayness, no matter what is going on around us, right? That we can choose to be peaceful in stressful situations. And many people don't want to look at that dark stuff, right? And they only want to see the light. But us shining the light on what is hidden and seeing what's there and really going through that is the gateway to our wholeness. Mm-hmm. And this is where we tap into that peace. We tap into that part of us that is untouched, unaffected by anything that is going on around us, no matter what. And so many people have said, how are you even dealing with all of this? And it's so easy because of so much of what I've been through in my life. So it's like, this doesn't feel like a big thing for me. You're able to rise above it. You're able to be that eye in the storm. And that is and I think this is the really true, deeper context of what emotional resilience is, or what it will take to be that. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, so your words, this radical, openness to look at what you've avoided. So true. I experienced this myself, and one reason I just sort of like flew back against the wall when you said that is because in the book that I'm writing, I talk about how I list all the times I had avoided death. And then I gave birth to death. And guess what? There was no way to avoid it. And so I love the way that you describe that, because it's like, what does it take to come face to face with what we have avoided for decades or maybe generations, right? And really, really look at that.
Yeah. So it's exactly that. It's a rebirth. It is like a metaphorical dying of everything that no longer serves. Well, that's the phoenix, really, and allowing what needs to be new and needs to be born or birthed to enter. We're literally in this right now, aren't we? And everything we're going through right now is actually building our emotional resilient muscles.
Yes.
Everything. Yeah.
And it's like you said, every single thing that builds that muscle, then guess what? When you get to the next stage, you're like, it's actually then that you realize how much strength you gathered and practiced in this time. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And we don't see it when you're in it, you're so blinded by it. But then when you come through and you come out on the other side, you're like, wow, if I can do that, if I've gone through that, I can do anything, bring it on.
Yes.
Yeah, it's that feeling of freedom. Put me on a stage, let me talk to 10,000s of people. There's none of that fear anymore that you used to have that is no longer there, Yes. So.
And we had touched on it before we went live. It's really not possible to serve at the deepest level, to do the work that we came here to do without traveling that dark place first.
Yeah. And this is where many people try and spiritually bypass. They're afraid of looking at what is and what we need to face. And so many people, they don't understand why changes don't happen for them, or why change isn't sustainable, or why they can't change. And it's because they're not actually going through. Always before a breakthrough is the breakdown, every single time. And if we want to get out on the other side, if we want to go to the next level of whatever we're creating in our lives, we've got to go through. The only way out is through, every single time. Yeah.
We Well, I'll speak for myself. I know many times I've done my best to go around and over and under and bounce around, but there's nothing like going through.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not scary. Like, people think it's scary, like, oh my God, what are you going to do? You're going to take me through. It's like, it's facing all of the things that we need to face so that we can heal at the core, so that we're able to move into that, because all of those things that are holding us back from our past, our childhood, our programming, the society, the conditioning, this is literally what is holding us back from living a peaceful and present life, you know. And it's not scary. It's actually the most liberating. Yeah. I mean, and I know it can be, but then once you're in it, I think it's almost like there's no going back, you know. And the awareness is so powerful. It's like, once you know, you can't unknow what you already know. There's no going back. The moment you take those steps, it's in it. And this is why I love this work. And I always say, even having our own business is like the highest form of self-development work we can ever do, because you want to talk emotional resilience? That's emotional resilience, because we're forced to face everything that's our own stuff. You know, it's only us that is in question here, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It all comes back to what's going on internally, and it's not out here. There's nothing after me, hindering me, hurting me out there. It's all right here,
Yeah.
So I would love if you could share a personal story of when you really learned emotional resilience, or when you went through.
Wow, my journey has been so big. There's so many. We'll take it a little bit back, but so I've always been in self-development from a very young age, and my own family went through an awakening when I was 13. I rebelled, and they had their own kind of awakening. So for me, I was kind of in it already, and when you don't listen, life will wake you up with a sledgehammer, and that's literally what happened to me. So I was in the top of my field. I had 700 people working for me. I was only 23. I was at a very young age, and I was at the pinnacle and highlight of my career. And it was then that everything I did, and I didn't know it then, it's all subconscious. Nothing is conscious that we do, and our behaviors that come out. But everything I was doing was really living for the validation and the approval of other people. It didn't matter about me, as long as I was making everybody happy, and I was working long hours. You could say that I was properly burning the candles at both ends. So there was like 16-hour days. I lived to work. And at that point, I didn't actually know any different. I loved it. It was, you know, and I didn't realize I loved it because of the validation and the approval and the recognition that I was getting from it. And so often what happens when these things happen is I hit burnout. I got diagnosed with not one, but 2 incurable diseases. I got a multitude of other things like debilitating anxiety, depression, chronic and adrenal fatigue, you name it. So I had to quit my job. And so with the quitting came massive identity crisis. Who was I if I wasn't this? Who was I if I wasn't my work? I lived for that. And that's where my whole worth came into question. And I took the doorway of health, because at that point, there were days where I couldn't even go or get out of bed, let alone go to the bathroom. And for me, it was really a good 2 years of this. And I was living in huge denial. I wasn't actually facing what I needed to face. Right. And so I took easy doorway. So the doorway for me was the physical health doorway. It was like, well, what can I do to fix this? What can I do to make this go away? And it was working to a level. It was to a point working. I started taking action toward that. I questioned everything. I changed my eating. I changed my lifestyle. I changed everything like that bit by bit. And I was getting better. But I wasn't facing what really needed to be faced. So it was the same pattern that kept coming up for me. And it wasn't until I actually went in and I went through and I looked at my programming, the formative years. So if you're aligned with Dr. Joe Dispenza, if you know of his work, or Bruce Lipton. So I had to do a lot of that kind of work. So the first 7 years of our life is where we pick up these these conditionings and these programmings and these behaviors and all of this. And it took me to go there. So going there, doing the inner work, doing a lot of self-inquiry, really clearing the structures of my mind, doing the inner transformational work is where the real healing started to shift for me. And so by this point, the doctors basically said, there's nothing we can do. We want to operate on you. We want to give you synthetic hormones for the rest of your life. And I'm sorry, you're just going to have to live with this. And that was like the wake up. Like, it wasn't even an aha moment. It was just like a smack across the head with a very cold dose of reality to say, this is not okay. The way I'm living my life is not okay. This is not normal. And that was when I started that journey. And so it was a step-by-step for me. I avoided, and it was working to a point, and then I had to go deeper. So then months later, I went back into the doctor's office, and he was just like, I don't know what you're doing. Whatever you're doing, keep doing what you're doing, because this is unbelievable. Everything is back in normal range. What has happened here? And we went and did more MRIs, we did more CT scans, because I already went through months of grueling tests. And they put me back through it because it was almost like, this is a miracle, what's happened to you? And it was all clear. There was no antibodies, there was nothing. It's like, you're good, you're good as new. And it was then that I knew. And I guess this is what really set me back on the path, on the trajectory of what I do today, and on my journey of helping other people in what I do today. And that's evolved over time. So it began there, and it took me, that was really the rock bottom for me, really going through my dark night, but it wasn't over. So I was doing everything I was doing, and it was going great. And 4 years ago, and I've been wanting to walk the Camino. I don't know if you've heard of Camino de Santiago. Okay, so I've been wanting to do that for quite some time. And I didn't actually know it was possible. And I met my mentor who actually walked it, and I was like, oh my God, you can do that. And so this kind of set the dream in for me. And so 4 years ago, I knew that was the calling. I had to do it. And I needed to face what I needed to face. I knew I needed to do that. And this was my phoenix, as in I'm willing to walk through what I need to walk through right now, quite literally, to burn up everything that no longer serves me, because I know that what I am carrying cannot carry me to my next level. Mm-hmm. And I was ready for that. And I was ready for the deep, sustainable healing. And that was when I walked 1,000 kilometers across the entire width of Spain. So I started in a small Basque town in the south of France, and I trekked every single day. So we had like 30-kilometer days, and all we did was walk. So I'd wake up at 4 a.m. and I'd walk, and every single day there was something that was shifting in me. So it was quite literally a journey of the mind. So through all of it, the pain, the body, and the soul. And my deep awakening came in the heart of my pain. My freedom came when I was broken. So we were probably about 50, 60 kilometers to the end. And I had shin splints on both legs. My feet were the size of an elephant. I seriously, halfway through, everybody said, you are crazy, get on the bus, don't walk anymore. Everybody was telling me, do the opposite. And I was like, no, I believe in myself. I was just like, I'm going to push through, I'm going to keep going. And it became almost like a self-flagellation, Adriana. That was what it felt like. I was punishing myself every day in absolute agony. So I could barely walk. My feet couldn't get into the shoes. I was literally hobbling. Everyone along that way knew who I was because of that. That was like my trademark. And So I had shin splints, I had Achilles tendonitis, I had stress fractures. I should have been on the bus halfway across, and I was just like, no, I'm going to make it. And so I was in this pain, and I was faced with my core wound, my core story that was coming through. And well, it comes down in the short version of not enough. So I was really facing that not enoughness, that I wasn't going to make it, and many other things. I'm giving you a short kind of version, but in that pain, and I allowed myself, I stopped fighting, I stopped resisting that. And it was when I opened to compassionate awareness, when I allowed all of it to be as it was, without needing it to be any different. And I really allowed all of it to be there, that I broke through, and that I discovered the gateway of my wholeness. And I remember coming out of the shower, and I looked in the mirror, and I finally saw the woman looking back at me, and she was smiling, and I saw myself as God, others saw me, and it was the most transformational moment, the most pivotal moment in my whole life. And I finished the rest of that journey, if you can believe, free from the mind-boggling pain, free from all of it. There is no other way to describe this other than transcendence. It's almost like I was just walking on air, or there was the soul that was so free. Yeah. Really powerful, really beautiful.
Ooh. Yes, just hearing you, it's like I can feel that. And what you're describing, it's so true. It's in that really difficult, dark, painful spot. And then we have this realization, oh my God, I'm free from everything that has held me, that has defined me, that has whatever, right?
Yeah, and that's it. I'm free from everything that I identified with, that I needed to be, or that I thought I needed to be, and I didn't. Who am I without all of that? So without any of that identity was me. Underneath all of those layers, like Michelangelo, when he saw the marble, and he knew that what he was going to carve, and he saw the statue beneath that big slab of marble. So it's always here. It just needs to be sculpted or peeled away, and it's there, and that's what it is. Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. I feel that right now a lot of identities are being stripped away. Right now, everything's being reconsidered, reprioritized, reevaluated. Even that whole thing of identity. Just a few nights ago, Derek and I were talking, and I said, you know what? I just want to make it very clear. We don't have to be who we thought we were 2 months ago, or 2 years ago, or 20 years ago. It just feels like it's a great time to shed the identity that we hold ourselves to, that others hold us to. Next level of freedom.
Yeah. And that's the sweet spot. And the moment that we discover that, there's no going back. There's no going back, because it's that within you, that feeling, and you'll always come back to that as simple as this sounds, that you get to be you without needing to be anybody other than you. That's the goal, really.
And like you said at one point, that part of you that is, it's never changed. It never can change. It never will change. Nothing can change it.
Yeah, it's always there. We've just got layers on it.
Yes. So this is what I want you to share with people. How can they work with you? What's, they're listening to, and I'm sure they're like me, like, oh my God, yeah. So how can people work with you?
So there's two ways. I have Rise and Thrive, which is a transformational mastermind for women in leadership. Women don't see themselves as leaders. I don't know what's up with that, because they don't even relate to the word leadership.
I've noticed that. Yes.
Yeah. So if you don't think you're a leader, you are a leader. We just need you to see that for yourself, so that but that's the work. So really unlocking their inner leader so that they can be the lighthouse, that shining beacon for those. And it comes through doing that work, building the strong foundations within us, because everything else is like strategy. You can have all the strategy in the world, but without the transformation, nothing's going to translate, because life is literally a mirror of what's happening within you. Whatever is going on out there is a reflection of what your own belief system is, happening within us. So there's Rise and Thrive, which is a really powerful container. It's a sacred container. And there's so much healing that comes and so much success that gets unlocked from doing that kind of work. And then there's, of course, the one-on-one work with me where, we go deep. We do a lot of leadership, and that translates in business as well. And we do a lot of subconscious, combination of the conscious, the subconscious, and the action, which really helps that transformation. So there's a couple of different ways. To go on happinesslifestyle.com.au, there is all of the information there. I do run retreats. At the moment, we're not able to do that given the situation, but there's that I do a few times a year normally around the world. So
how exciting. I can't wait till you're able to do those retreats again, because I can only imagine an in-person gathering is powerful.
Yeah, next level, intense. They get it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I want to leave everyone with this quote. I loved it when you sent this in. You said, "You are bigger than any definition your own mind can put on you." So true.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah. And you are so much more supported than you realize.
It is the truth. The seen and unseen support that is always around us, it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for joining us all the way from Australia, for being who you are, for going through it, for taking yourself on that literal journey.
Yeah. Thank you, honey. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you all for joining us. I want to remind you to pick up your free pass to Networking Influencers and my guide, Jumpstart Your Book. Those links are in the description. Be sure to check out Rosie's work. I have no doubt your life will be completely brand new. Until next time, big hugs from Mexico. Stay well. I'll talk to you soon.